Not a problem, but also watch a little real talent talk. Then.
Let's talk about the real talent. Your favorite talent, Chris Jericho, and the blockbuster announcement in regards to him for a big return coming up next week on Raw, Meathead.
Yeah, Chris Jericho, the return on Raw. Ric Flair is going to be on Raw next week. I don't know what he's doing there. Is he there to sell his soul again? I thought we got rid of him last year, and he just randomly showed up. And then,
well, remember, him and WWE did officially part ways. And contractually as well, of course. But Ric Flair back in Oakland, California, next Monday night on Raw. This all part of the whole Jericho, Mickey Rourke, WrestleMania, the wrestler, Ric Flair Legends thing, as John Cena in his match with Jericho tonight was defending all the legends that Jericho has run down over the course of the last couple of weeks. We'll talk much more about the Mickey Rourke WrestleMania situation as we progress down into this show here. But also, big announcement on Raw. I'm very excited to see Ric Flair back, by the way.
Why?
I think this is how you use him. He's a liaison. He's a special attraction. It should be promoted. Unlike that crap they did a couple of months ago where he wanted to get in a street fight like 2 weeks after he'd retired with was that with Jericho? I think that was with Jericho. Or was it with Trips? No, Trips stopped it.
No, I think it was with Jericho.
But the other big announcement is we've got a SmackDown superstar on Raw next week. The Undertaker, who came, that's not a spoiler, it was on Raw.
No, brands colliding.
Kane, who apparently now can use a phone, called The Undertaker by Stephanie's direction, and it will be appearing on Raw in a match against Randy Orton next week.
So, did Kane learn that in his movie See No Evil, how to use the phone?
Perhaps.
Maybe. I'm sitting here reading the chat Osphere, and I see a couple names pop back and forth, and, we haven't given out the numbers yet, Damien, and if we haven't, Damien's going to do that in just a moment.
Locally, it's 276-ESPN. That's 276-3776 if you're driving, and if you have a BlackBerry and the numbers don't correspond with the numbers that you're supposed to dial, which is very frustrating for us BlackBerry owners. But anyways, 276-3776. I own 2 BlackBerries, unfortunately. 276-3776, and all over the world at 1-800-990-ESPN. Again, 1-800-990-3776.
One of our users from Australia said that it only cost him $10 to call into the show, and he spoke for a couple minutes. I wonder how that makes the people locally here that don't pay anything with their unlimited phone from Time Warner Cable or whoever they're getting their phone from, AT&T or whatever. How do they feel that they're not spending the $10 to be on the show with us tonight?
It's a challenge. $10, 10 ducats, 10 Skrilla. Let's go now to the PWR phone lines, because had I not given out the number, this person wouldn't have been on hold since we started. But be that as it may, we've got a call from Maryland. Sultan from Maryland. You are live here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Damien, it's a pleasure. Meathead, it's a pleasure to be on this show, PWR.
It's our pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate all of our live callers.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, on that day, I was hearing this interview with Kevin Nash, and Kevin Nash is one of my heroes.
Really?
Yeah.
Kevin Nash was recently on the Pro Wrestling Report here on 540 ESPN. You can find that at PWRshow.com, the archive version of that very insightful hour-long interview with Kevin Nash.
Exactly. I heard the whole interview, and especially that interview when he mentioned his son and Scott Hall's son, that they are that good and they don't know about wrestling. And I was like, oh my God, they gotta be kidding me. Nash is a legend. He has done it all. He's the big daddy. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much amazed. It just amazed me. But I was just watching Raw and they are pitching this angle between Shane McMahon and Randy Orton. It was a pretty good angle, the way they are pitching it.
Are you intrigued by it, Sultan? Is this something that you're actually intrigued by on WWE programming, the Shane McMahon, Randy Orton situation?
Look, WWE is awesome. Only the one thing, John Cena, he really, pisses me off. Every time he comes out and mocks The Rock, The Rock is The Rock. And he mocks...
Wait, you feel he's mocking The Rock?
Sometimes...
He did it for The Rock.
You can see, the way he gives his interviews, he tried to copy The Rock. If you talk about Kennedy, I think the spotlight should be given to Kennedy because, I've seen that he has charisma, Kennedy. He has charisma, mic skills, energy, and in 2008, he is the most improved wrestler. He came up with this kick and kick, mic check, And, like, he made his trademark, that face wash. Kennedy is one of the most improved wrestlers. And Kennedy is the guy who can, like, really dominate the picture of, like, a main event. And John Cena, I don't know, like, his match was pathetic. The main event I just watched. Chris Jericho is an awesome wrestler, but, like, how Chris Jericho, how much he can pull up, like, just like, John Cena was, like, just not, like, like he was, I know, like, you're going to call me Cena hater. Okay. I'm not that. I was, like, one of the
we are going to call you.
There are a lot of Cena haters out there. A lot less now than there were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago. Cena certainly garnering that respect that he may have deserved all the while. We actually got a recent comment on one of our episodes of the Pro Wrestling Report from about a year ago where someone said, and I quote, "My God, Damian, stop pushing John Cena." And, we tend to have an eye for talent on this show, and we recognize that John Cena, while he certainly is not the best professional wrestler in the world, is a respectable talent and a man who really promotes world wrestling entertainment and, quite frankly, is their biggest star.
Was John Cena the what again? Wasn't he the 2007 Pro Wrestling Report Wrestler of the Year?
That got retired when we did the 2008 honors. Who's the 2008 Pro Wrestling Report honors Wrestler of the Year?
He would be the man that you think you know.
Let's take another phone call here. Let's go to line 2. We're going to Waukesha, Wisconsin. Remember, folks, you can join us at number 276-ESPN, 276-3776, or 800-990-ESPN. That's 800-990-3776. Still to come, we've got Against All Odds. We're going to talk about Randy Orton in depth. Last week's Impact. We've got WWE, TNA News, VI3, and big news from Ring of Honor. Terry, you are live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Gentlemen, good evening. How are you today?
Hey, Terry. Finer than a frog hair split 4 ways.
What? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, I watched Raw tonight. I thought it was entertaining. Anybody who hasn't seen Shane McMahon in the ring, order the pay-per-view. It'll be interesting. Shane McMahon, as you guys were talking about at the beginning of the show, he is a risk taker. He takes some good bumps. He got dumped on his head by Kurt Angle. That's the one you were trying to think about, Damien.
King of the Ring 2000, I believe it was.
Yep, he got dumped on his head.
It took a few tries, but yeah.
Yeah. I was doing a little bit of surfing on the internet this week. Found some new stuff that I thought you guys might want to know about. Found a new pro wrestling federation coming out, part of the National Wrestling Alliance out on the West Coast. Pro Wrestling Revolution, which kind of combines American wrestling and Lucha Libre. Some interesting names: Rey Mysterio Sr.
Rey Mysterio? I didn't realize there was a senior. Well, he was kind of wrestling analyst am I. Yeah, Bobby Heenan's is better.
Rey Mysterio Sr. is actually the uncle of Rey Mysterio Jr., and he also has his son, El Hijo de Rey Mysterio. They are the tag champs at Pro Wrestling Revolution. Another thing I saw in my travels around the internet, the big card in Chicago with Ring of Honor, Bison Smith making a difference in the 4-way match between Tyler Black, Bryan Danielson, Austin Aries, and Jimmy Jacobs.
You're spoiling the next pay-per-view, aren't you, Terry?
Yeah. No spoilers here. No spoilers.
Okay. All right.
And also,
Ring of Honor was live this past Saturday in Chicago Ridge.
Did you go to the show?
No, I unfortunately I have a job where I have to work on the weekend, so I don't.
It's unfortunate. Up until some events that occurred last week, I was locked in for that Ring of Honor show on Saturday night, but was not able to make it. So I know the hate's going to come from a lot of the viewers out there and a lot of the fans, but they will be coming back again soon. And from what I understand, it was indeed a very good show. And we've got big Ring of Honor news on their first television taping coming up.
I got a couple questions to ask you.
Yeah.
Now, with Matt Hardy turning on his brother, I never thought Matt Hardy was a good heel in the first place. I hope that this time they do a little bit something different with him. I was also reading that Brian Kendrick is kind of on the outs with management. I mean, do you see a lot of these young guys that they signed, like Colt Cabana? I think Evan Bourne's probably the only one that's probably got staying power. But the rest of these young guys just seem that either A, they don't listen, or B, they just don't have the quote-unquote look, which I think drives me absolutely crazy when you...
No, I don't think... Well, you got to understand, once again, it is an entertainment product. Even though they may be physically able to go in the ring, you overall have to have that look. Brian Kendrick, the only reason he's getting over at all is because of his big man Zeke. Brian Kendrick, Spanky, does not have it in the ring as far as the look. Now, he can wrestle in the ring. I mean, we've seen him at Spanky. We've seen him in the tag teams when he was with London. We've seen him do some stuff as Brian Kendrick. They even tried pushing him into that scramble, and they try to put him in main event stuff, and Brian Kendrick just isn't getting over.
But they pushed Brian Kendrick to the moon for a short time.
Yeah.
Remember, he was involved in some main event matchups.
Like I just said, thanks for repeating.
No, but you said that he didn't have the look. I don't think the look mattered because they pushed him.
Because they tried.
Yeah.
And that's why he didn't get over.
Who is Ezekiel Jackson? Where did they get this guy from? That's not Charles Evans from Ohio Valley, is it? I mean, I've tried to look where this guy comes from.
My man Zeke is big, though.
Yeah, like I said, this
he reminds me of Zeus.
No. He reminds me, who's the guy that came out with
big,
Jericho?
Black, and bald.
Stop. Who's the guy that came out with Jericho when Jericho came
Ralphus?
back? No. He had a big guy with him.
When has he not had a big guy with him? I mean, every time he's in the WWE, he's got somebody else watching his back. I mean,
who, Jericho? Who's watching his back now?
Well, I mean, beforehand. I mean, his trip before this current stint with WWE. I mean, it was either him or Christian coming out with somebody because they needed a bodyguard. Every time they could find some schlep from their developmental that couldn't do anything, just tag him up with either Christian or Jericho or somebody have him walk out to the ring. Ezekiel Jackson at least looks like he can do something. He'll probably be world champion.
Curtis Hughes
or something.
That's
who
true.
it was.
Terry, we do have to cut you short. We've got a bunch of callers here. The lines are almost full here on the PWR show. Thank you very much for calling in, Terry. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Meathead, overall, your thoughts on WWE Raw tonight, overall package that was the show. We saw some Mickie James action. Granted, he was on a losing effort, but
that's okay.
Teaming with CM Punk, going up against Regal and
Candace.
Layla. You know what? She is, I want to see her, I want her to show me how to move my body.
Because you want to dance like that, or you really want to see her move her body?
The Super Bowl this past Sunday, or do we have to call it the big game? Can we call it
the big game? Even though technically,
Sunday.
I know how the rules work. I don't know if you know this. Real quick, as long as you're not profiting from it or trying to advance yourself from mentioning of that game, you can use the term.
Can we talk about the Springsteen crotch shot? Anyways, but the commercial, the GoDaddy commercial, no Candace this year.
Danica.
It wasn't as good. Let's go now to another caller here on the Pro Wrestling Report. Remember, we are live Monday night, February 2nd, 2009. The number you can call us at is 276-ESPN. Or 1-800-990-ESPN. We've got Elliot from New York. Elliot from New York, where they make that pace picante sauce. You are live here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Elliot, are you with us?
Yes.
Elliot,
hey, Elliot, what's going on?
And first, to clarify, it was Chris Hughes that was Jericho's bodyguard.
What did I say? I said Hughes. I thought it was
Curtis Hughes.
Curtis?
It was Chris
Hughes.
Hughes.
My bad.
Thank you for that.
No, it was Curtis Hughes.
Thank you for apologizing.
Elliot, what do you have for us? You sound like a
up?
first-time caller, Elliot. I don't think we've heard from you before. Thanks for calling into the show.
Last week when you were on here, I was talking about the brand expansion.
Okay. What's up, buddy?
But I have to say this. Two things I have to say. One, the build-up to WrestleMania is a little lackluster to me. I don't know about everyone else, but they started out good with the Royal Rumble and all that, the excitement and the hatred and all that, but with this McMahon thing and the Elimination Chamber looking weak and starting the JBL Michaels matches are so early, I don't know.
Well, we have another episode of PWR TV coming this week, which we actually taped tonight, and we have extensive discussion on the build to WrestleMania or lack thereof. So, Elliot, it's interesting you're making that point because I actually spoke of that on this week's PWR TV.
Check it out
about how at this
online.
point, typically, registered users at PWRshow.com get the advanced screening on Wednesday of PWR TV. But I spoke about typically at this point, you have a better understanding of what's going to happen at the Royal Rumble, where No Way Out is indeed what I call it, that road bump to WrestleMania. At this point, it seems as if, just as you say, Elliot, there are some things lacking. You really don't even know on the SmackDown side of things what the main's going to be at WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's like no even backup feuds for SmackDown. It's no type of backup. It's all Elimination Chamber and Jeff Hardy.
And The Undertaker's got nothing. He's not even in a program right now, and he's
not.
Of course, going to go into WrestleMania, but against who and for what?
He's not, and who against? Who's left? Who's really left that he hasn't already started a program with, or can hold up against him? It's no one left. They're going to get a big guy. They're probably going to get Umaga, and that's disgusting.
I don't even want to think that.
That's a dumb program. But before you guys cut me off, and I have to get off the phone, I have to say this. They said on Impact that Hernandez is getting a future title shot, most likely Destination X. Do you see a real world title matchup that might be good from Hernandez versus whoever the champion and do you see a world champion in Hernandez?
Well, two things on that, and thanks for the call, Elliot from New York. Two things on that is, first off, I'm glad to see that Hernandez is going to get his opportunity, as it was just
he needs a true opportunity.
Feast or famine cash-in a couple of weeks ago, feast or fired rather, cash-in a couple of weeks ago, as it ended in a bit of a screwjob ending. I'm glad to see he's going to get that chance. If it is indeed going to happen at Destination X, I fear one thing happening. If Hernandez becomes champion, I fear the Samoa Joe effect. Everybody wanted Samoa Joe to be champion. All the fans wanted it. All the fans cried about it. All the fans whined about it. It happened, and his popularity actually decreased. Didn't happen right away, but certainly happened over the course of time. And now, obviously, we see that he's going to be coming back as a more of the original Samoa Joe, now with Samoan face paint. But be that as it may, I think Hernandez as TNA champion would be good. Do I think he has long-term viability as champion?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
Not
and
against
I fear
the
that because Hernandez is probably one of the most talented performers, probably, and I dare say this without doing enough research, but probably he is the best big man in the business right now, if not in the last 10 years, because the things he can do are just simply phenomenal.
And, wait, hold on. There we go. We still owe him a nickel bag. As we start to take this to the timeout that Damien's going to bring us in a second, Hernandez, I would pay to watch him. I would pay to watch him. Every time we're on a pay-per-view or we're at a pay-per-view and, LAX is involved, that is the match I want to see. Unfortunately, they're always in the opening match, but that is the match that I want to see. Hernandez as a main event player against such, like the main event mafia, just see them kind of swallowing him up and not making him worth anything.
But if Hernandez is world champion as well, and we talk about on PWR TV this week, best tag teams in the business right now, what does that do to LAX? One of the reasons they say one of the reasons a lot of people say they stayed with TNA, as they just signed a new 3-year contract extension, is because LAX will be kept together. Hernandez, they can almost do like they did Kane at King of the Ring '98, because Kane won the title and then lost it the next night on Raw. Something like that, just to get people talking about the product, might be a good idea. But I don't know. I really fear the Samoa Joe effect of him becoming champion if Hernandez were to do that. So very interesting from our caller from New York. Let's go now to another caller just before we take a timeout. And remember, we're still taking your calls all night long, 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Curryhead in Memphis, Tennessee. Meathead, take it away.
Curryhead, my man, what is going on?
What's this something about Pimp Hamstrong? And
you got to keep that Pimp Hamstrong, baby.
I listened to the show last week.
Before I start, I want to give my condolences to you, Damien, man, about your loss, man. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Thank you for that.
I don't say I don't have a heart for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, before I start, remember, I always use the powder meat here.
Oh, right, yeah, you got to use the powder.
You got to use the powder to make sure that she can hear it. Make sure she can feel it.
Inappropriate. Curryhead, what's going on, man?
Oh, well, let's just talk about this build-up. I kind of agree with my man from New York. This WrestleMania is not built up. I remember even last year, you had it about this time, even before No Way Out. All the basic matches, you had an idea what was the basic matches was going on. You had the Ric Flair. Ric Flair was going to retire. Even though that was a given, his final match, that. You don't even have that. Undertaker even had a match. He was going for the title. We know he's not going for the title this year, but we don't know who he's going to face. And it's becoming a lot less sloppy than it has been for the past. This is actually the sloppiest first quarter for the WWE.
You mean as far as organization? And I know you got other calls. Your girls calling in there. As far as the organization and what's going on with the product. I mean, you know what? The top half of the card, and again, we're going to talk about this on PWR show this week, but the top half of the card is pretty heavy. I mean, if you think about it.
But what about this? What about the meat and potatoes, the middle of the card?
Hey, no pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. Hey, you don't know. I kind of am disappointed if they're not giving a good push towards the Intercontinental title. They have that. I understand they got to have. They can't use all the titles because of the 2 elimination chambers and the No Way Out. But they could at least push that back towards after No Way Out for the Intercontinental title between Regal and CM. CM Punk and use that as a builder towards making the Intercontinental title a little bit worth more credible, and try at least put it for the first time this decade where I take that.
Where they defended at the Mania.
Actually, at the WrestleMania. I forgot how. You know how long has it been?
Who knows? Normally,
no, I can tell you when. 2000 and 2001 was the last 2 years. Was the last time that the Intercontinental Champion.
Yeah, and normally what's been happening is the Intercontinental Champion has been involved in the Money in a Bank match.
Which I have no problem with that, but you have the U.S. title in there, and it doesn't have a long history in the company. But you put your second most prestigious title out, and not even defend it on the WWE biggest pay-per-view of the year, supposedly your Super Bowl. Oh, I'm sorry, the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
You see that? I didn't use the actual word because I didn't profit for that. Not. I got to go, guys.
Yeah, Joe, thanks for calling in. We appreciate the call, and we appreciate your dedication to the show here. Fans, we're going to take a timeout, but before we do, let's not forget that we are live at pwrshow.com as well. Meathead is in the chatmosphere, the free chat room. We've also got our shout box, which is live instant messaging going on at the page pwrshow.com. The forum is up and running. You can call us live. We're all about community and interaction, Meathead, and the number you can call us at is 276-ESPN. Again, 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. When we come back. And
what's your excuse, too, if you're local, man? You're not even paying long-distance charges.
When we come back, we've got a preview of TNA's Against All Odds pay-per-view coming up this Sunday night. And also, we've got in-depth discussion on Randy Orton, the character, and more on Mickey Rourke and his situation with WrestleMania. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Damian Nelson here alongside the man they call Meathead. We're live. Monday night, February 2nd, 2009. What a show it's been so far. You hear that great theme song, that of Randy Orton. Rev Theory voices the CD that dropped last Tuesday from World Wrestling Entertainment. Available everywhere but iTunes, which is why I don't own it yet, because I don't. Well, that's what they say in the business.
Well, if you read on the PWRshow.com, you'll read 25 things that you didn't know about Damian Nelson. One of them is he's very brand loyal.
Very brand loyal. iTunes, I'm becoming brand loyal. I'm actually upgrading my iPod Touch to a 32 gig.
I've got a Meat Touch.
And nobody wants to buy that. You can join us by phone at 276
I know a beautiful
ESPN.
young lady that bought
Again,
that.
276 ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN all over the world. We are blowing up at pwrshow.com. Site is a little slower than it should be. We're working on that. But you can also join Meathead in the PWR Chatmosphere. And I am live in the PWR Shout Box. Also, the forum is available. And again, our TalkShoe page, we have a chat page in there as well. But, Meathead, we're talking about Randy Orton, the star that is Randy Orton. We go in depth a little bit more on PWR TV this week about Randy Orton. But the question is, has WWE created the perfect superstar? What I mean by that is, look at what we've seen out of Randy Orton since he returned from his collarbone injury. He's won the Royal Rumble, which a lot of people predicted, but a lot of people wouldn't predict very safely. They wouldn't make it a royal prediction, as Jerry Lawler would do.
Or as Carl Love would do.
Carl Love, who we saw tonight for the first time in several months, one of the original hosts here of the Pro Wrestling Report. But anyways, have they built the perfect superstar? He won the Royal Rumble. He's going to WrestleMania in that big main event match of his choosing. He attacked Vince McMahon, which I'm not sure made him a better bad guy or a better good guy. And then obviously in the program with Shane, as we talked about the opening of this program, Shane McMahon versus Randy Orton and No Way Out with No Holds Barred, and that awesome music. I mean, could be one of the greatest. We did an episode, 10 best theme songs of all time. I don't think that made the list because
it can't make the list if it just came out.
Well, but what really sealed the deal for me was Randy Orton's, the video that they did going into the Royal Rumble. It really told the story of the affliction
is a fighting group.
The conflict.
The dictionary is incorrect. The dictionary is incorrect. Yes, that just sounds so intelligent. The dictionary is incorrect.
Ladies and gentlemen, that courtesy of the man they call Meathead.
Thank you.
But going into that pay-per-view and really seeing, it was one of the greatest pieces by WWE in a very long time, but it really told the story of Randy Orton. And then, of course, hearing on that following night's Raw that he's suffering from a medical condition, storyline purposes, folks. But you got to look at the history of Randy Orton. We've reported much of it on this program. He truly did have some behavioral problems. He had a discharge from the military, which is shrouded by some controversy. He went AWOL. He left the military. He certainly had some issues in WWE, which caused him to potentially almost lose his job. Remember the quote that Randy Orton said, Vince McMahon said to him, which was, the only thing stopping Randy Orton from succeeding
is Randy Orton.
Exactly. Randy Orton, who obviously now is married, has a child, has cleaned himself up quite a bit and looks better than ever, meaning if you look at Randy Orton over the last couple of years before the collarbone injury, a couple of months before that, he looked like a rock star behind the music in the middle of the episode when they talk about the downfall starting. It just did not look healthy. But the question, Meathead, have they built the perfect star? Is there anybody better right now, overall character and presentation, than Randy Orton?
No, right now Randy Orton is the guy. I mean, John Cena is still their number one guy as far as merchandise sales. He's, their top face. But Randy Orton should be the one going up against John Cena at WrestleMania because it's your top bad guy, your top good guy. That's really what they. I mean, it makes me feel it's nothing close to it yet, but it makes me feel like Rock Austin.
And we talked about the build that may or may not be there for WrestleMania so far. Clearly, the match that needs to be at WrestleMania is Orton versus Cena. But where's this McMahon thing going? Daddy's got to come back at some point. Vince McMahon's got to come back at some point.
He did. He got punted in the head seconds later.
He got knocked the heck out. But where does that go? Is there going to be some type of Orton versus McMahon situation at WrestleMania?
Save that for Backlash.
Yeah, well, Jericho's accounted for, spoken for. Orton's really, you got to have, that's the money match, Orton Cena. Heck, when's the last time we've really seen that on a major pay-per-view event, Orton Cena? One-on-one.
Yeah, without Triple H last year.
I think that money
was
some
a triple threat last year.
That'll put some tails every 18 inches as they measure it in the business. But, I don't know if there's a better superstar. We did have an email, actually, from a viewer that we'll talk about on PWR TV this week about that Y2J is potentially just as good as Randy Orton.
Yeah, and Y2J verbally can go a lot better on the mic or on the stick in the back than Randy Orton can, but Orton's just got a better look to him. Orton's still younger. Orton still has a youthful look to him. Y2J's got a bald spot. I mean, nothing against Jericho.
Triple H doesn't, though.
I think I'm cute.
Nor does JBL.
I think I'm cute. I know I'm balding. That's the new words to his song.
Speaking of that story, we want to hear your feedback, ladies and gentlemen. As we said, the PWR Shout Box, PWR Chatmosphere, PWR Forum. Well, you can also email us. We're actually launching a new television show.
I'm launching right now.
PWR Q&A. Each month we're going to bring you a question and answer episode where we'll just simply take your emails with your questions and do a special episode each month in addition to our monthly 10 best episodes. And remember, for those of you listening here in southeastern Wisconsin, you can watch us on Time Warner Cable Channel 14 Friday nights at 9 o'clock p.m. right after WWE SmackDown, the highest-rated show on my network TV.
But
what's that saying?
It says they don't have anything else. Everybody hates Chris.
PWR Q&A, that's a new show, as I said, coming soon. So you can send those emails right through our contact links on pwrshow.com. You just go up to Contact Us, select the question, the person you would like to send your question to, and there's an embedded email form right in the site. So pick either myself, the Kaz, or the man they call Meathead, and we'll go ahead and do a special episode every month answering those questions.
I still think, and like we've said already, we taped our TV show for this week earlier this evening. I still think we should do a top 10 best shows of our top 10 best shows.
You continue to make my head spin. But let's talk about TNA's pay-per-view this Sunday night. It's Against All Odds. A lot of people have been saying this pay-per-view may not be all that it should be. But I think when you look at the lineup, you got at least a lot of good wrestling matches, and that's one thing TNA is good for delivering. You're going to get about 2.5 hours of wrestling.
You know what we need is Phil Collins at this pay-per-view.
Let's talk about the matches, Meathead, and predict who may indeed go over, if you will, in those matches. The first one is one of my favorite performers, Petey Williams, going up against one of my least favorite performers, Scott Steiner. And we'll talk about Steiner's ring announcing when we get to Impact in a few minutes here. But it's Little Petey Pump and Big Papa Pump The big bad booty daddy and the small...
It's so hard not to use the same joke I just used 3 hours ago, but honestly, do you want two guys in the ring with names Pump at the same time?
I'm not sure what
I'm gay. Thanks, Mr. Needle. I'm sorry. That was probably
who goes over in the match?
Minister,
We didn't pick. Who goes over in that match?
Petey has to go
Maple
over.
Leaf Muscle?
But it's got to be Scott Steiner.
Why?
Because Scott Steiner's part of the Main Event Mafia.
I'm going to go with Petey in that just simply because I'm a mark for Petey Williams.
Okay.
Booker T will take on the devastating Shane Sewell. Who's more formidable in the ring?
Devastating Shane
Sewell or dangerous Danny Davis?
Give me Mark Patrick with an arm.
How many viewers out there? Here's something for the shout box and the Chatmosphere. How many viewers out there remember the referee dangerous Danny Davis? He was a member of the Hart Foundation for a number of years.
For about a minute.
Back in WWF until he was suspended for life. He was one of the first for life suspensions that we had ever seen in WWE.
Yeah.
You say Shane Sewell goes over in that match? Is that what I heard? Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Really?
It'll change.
You're just throwing it out there.
It'll
like
change.
Throwing it away.
It'll change on the TV version anyway.
Tag team explodes. Matt Morgan. Matt Morgan going up against his former partner Abyss.
Matt Morgan again, better and better on the microphone as the weeks go by. Matt Morgan, is he climbing over the top rope without any effort?
We've talked about that to nauseam. I will say
it's Matt Morgan's going to win.
I'll talk about it on TV. Tune in to TV this week. Well, I'll make a concession about Matt Morgan.
We've given away.
I admit when I may be wrong.
We just kayfabe.
Happens twice a year.
We just kayfabe basically because we told people that we taped the TV ahead of the radio, so we're talking backwards.
No, not really. In case you didn't catch earlier, PWR TV on Wednesdays is available at. I'm sorry, PWR TV is available on Wednesdays. On the website at pwrshow.com for anyone who has set up a registration at the website. That is a registered-only feature. And then on Friday, obviously, it is available on Time Warner Cable and all over the world on the site. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We're talking about TNA's Against All Odds. We're going to take a brief time out. And when we come back, we want to hear what you think about the upcoming TNA pay-per-view, the number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. We'll be back in just a moment right here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Listen to the D-List with Drew Olson and Dan Needles. Weekdays at 9 on 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. I'm Chet Lemon, and this is Mitch Snow, or whatever our names are. We're actually on TNA Impact. We're ripping off a WCW NWO gimmick, but we're going to be Chet Lemon and Mitch Snow. What do you say, Mitch?
Wasn't it Black Snow?
Black Snow, that's
Black
what it was.
Snow. Yeah.
But the other one was Chet Lemon. Actually, Booker was funny to me.
In your opinion?
To me, in my opinion.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, Monday, February 2nd, 2009. We are live, and you can join us by calling us on the PWR phone lines, 276-ESPN, which is 276-3776 here locally in southeastern Wisconsin, or 1-800-990-ESPN, 800-990-3776. We're going to take a caller, but the reason we came back with that Nitro music that time was because we've got some comparisons or some flashbacks, if you will, when we think of TNA's impact from last week. Let's go now to Martin. Martin, you are live here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Martin?
Nothing much. Just listening to your show.
Okay. I mean,
you have a question or comment for
it?
Yeah. I got a question. It has Ring of Honor in it.
Okay.
Very good. Well put.
Yeah. To be honest with you, up until a couple of weeks ago, I've never seen any Ring of Honor. But after listening to you guys, your callers, people from the internet, I decided...
Take a shot?
Yeah, take a shot. So it was easy because everyone at the end of the year puts out their, best show of the year kind of deal. So one of those shows they suggested was Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor 3. It was the WrestleMania show. And I got it. I saw it, and...
That was from this past year, 2008?
Right.
Yeah, when they had the Dragon's Gate guys in?
Right, and McGinnis, Aries for the world title, and...
Yeah, we just had Aries on the program last week, if you didn't already hear.
I heard it.
Briefly.
I heard the interview, and I saw it, and wow. it was, AJ, I'm going to owe you money. It was phenomenal.
Sorry, I have my mic pointed at me, but I have the bell behind me, so I have to spin the microphone to hit the bell.
And that's unfortunate. Meathead and I were both in Orlando. MCO is the airport code. OBT is the street. We were both in Orlando for WrestleMania festivities. We're going to go to the Ring of Honor show on Friday or Saturday night. Ended up at the Hall of Fame Saturday night. Friday night was free for the show due to some communication errors. We were not able to make it to the show. Some communication errors between myself and Ring of Honor, actually. But they did invite us down to the Saturday show. We were not able to make that. And it's a sad story. Every time there's some calamity, it causes us not to make it to
we
the Ring
still
of Honor
work
show.
good with Ring of Honor. Obviously, that's how Austin and,
Nigel,
the Dragon got on and, all those guys.
Yeah.
Martin, have you had the opportunity of going to a live Ring of Honor show?
Actually, I have not, but
you've heard the big news, obviously. Now a weekly television program
in high
on
def.
HDNet in high definition.
Yes,
of course.
I did hear it I heard it from you guys, and that's what brought me to my next question. Can Ring of Honor by itself be good with a weekly television show, or do you think they might have to change something somewhere?
Well, Martin, that's a great question, but we've got that as a topic later in the show where we're going to go in-depth and talk about Ring of Honor. We've got details on their first taping and information. You'll be surprised where that's going to happen if you don't know already. And we're going to talk about the viability of that show versus current programming that's on. Martin, very good call. Thank you so much for calling from Ogilvie, I think that is.
Minnesota, I believe it is.
Is that anywhere near Bemidji?
No.
Oh.
It is Minnesota. Thank you, Dragon. Not Brian Danielson, actually, our producer.
He's the American Dragon, is Brian Danielson,
and
by the way.
The Dan Dragon, our producer.
TNA Impact last week. Main Event Mafia takes over Impact. Sort of, kind of, if you will. Now, we played the Nitro music and talked about retrospectively how that was familiar to a certain organization taking over WCW Nitro, which was, in my opinion, one of the best episodes of Nitro ever. As a matter of fact,
because it was out of control.
As a matter of fact, we had it on. Actually, it did not make the final version of the site, but when we add the favorite video section back to the video section of PWRshow.com, there's a great clip of Bobby Heenan the next week after Nitro had taken over, and he came back in, and because he had aligned himself with the NWO, he wanted to save his job or whatever. He came back in and not cut a promo, but him and Shivani's and Tanae's interaction for that 3 minutes when he came back to the broadcast booth was classic. Heenan sits down after he interprets Shivani as welcoming him back and says, "Yep, roll it." And Shivani cracks up. He's like, "You don't even know where we are here." And Heenan is just so amazingly underrated, and there's just nobody as good as he ever was at his worst in the business right now as far as being able to talk. But anyway, that was
in the chatosphere, Hitman28 is throwing out one of the greatest quotes. I know, Damien, you bring it up over and over. You mean to tell me that Yokozuna was the champion for 5 minutes?
WrestleMania 9, Heenan in a toga, JR's first WrestleMania, when Bret Hart lost the title to Yokozuna due to salt in the eye from Mr. Fuji, and then Hogan comes out with the black eye. Hogan comes out with the black eye, Bret Hart tells Hogan to get in the ring. Hogan takes the title at WrestleMania 9 after a jet ski incident.
Yeah.
And then loses it to Yokozuna at the first King of the Ring in 1993. Yep. But anyway, sorry for that history lesson. Main Event Mafia takes over Nitro. Now here takes over Impact rather. It's the same thing they did. Vince Russo, I think, was around when this happened.
No, it was
before his time?
No, he wasn't. That was
all right,
Bischoff.
sorry about that. I was wrong. That's twice this year now, so I'm done being wrong for the balance of the year.
For 2009, you're done being wrong.
The NWO, they won at a pay-per-view, or they were going into a pay-per-view or something, and they took over Nitro. I mean, they spent buku bucks on this thing. They changed all the logos, changed the lighting. The whole thing was
new video package.
Yeah, it was part of the money-burning festivities of WCW. But
it was great TV.
It actually was. Like I said, I thought one of the best Nitros ever, aside from the one where Flair and the Horsemen came back and Flair and Bischoff got into it. I'm already fired. But anyways, Booker T on commentary for me, Meathead, was painful. And remember, I hail King Booker. But, man, was he trying to spoof West or what was that?
No, don't you remember when he was in WWE, he was doing his classic announcer thing where he's
Booker T was?
Yeah, where if he would have started stabbing his forehead, because he would have been sweating, he's doing a Gordon Soley and West all at the same time.
He didn't reference a Pier 6 brawl of Donnie Brook.
Yeah, but dude, he was.
If you're doing Gordon, you got to go for those things.
That's how he was talking.
Scott Steiner, however, was actually pretty good on commentary. But who in their right mind gives him a live mic all night and lets him be a ring announcer?
Yeah, no, Scott Steiner's commentary was good.
I needed Hooked on Phonics to help to understand him.
Scott Steiner's commentary was good.
Commentary was good, yes. I said that.
But when he's doing ring announcing, he doesn't have.
I still don't know what he said.
Doesn't have Buff. He doesn't have Buff Bagwell around watching BET to give him lines.
I don't get that.
That was an old gimmick. Buff Bagwell always talked like he was in, and then Scott Steiner put him out on the street one day. It says Buff Bagwell sits and watches BET to figure out what he's going to say the next week.
Because Buff is the stuff,
and the girls can't get enough.
Overall, I thought the episode of Impact was pretty weak, but the Internet Wrestling community, the IWC, seemed to enjoy it. And that's, again, I don't know why, but when I don't like something, everybody else seems to like it. Am I wrong? Should I not have done that? Because I got to say here, if somebody would have told me, anyways, overall, it was, good wrestling again, but there's just so much, who runs a production from an office? Kurt Angle should have been in the truck. And maybe I shouldn't dissect these things so much, but
what you really need to dissect from that segment is JB is always going to be in the back, right?
Yeah,
but is he back there on the stick as the guys are just talking? So that makes it an interview because he's standing back there. He only put the microphone in someone's face once every maybe 30 seconds. While the two of them, like Cornette and Angle, are going back and forth. Why is he even there? Why?
Good question. But Impact this past week, a good show. Actually got a 1.2 rating. Again, one of their best ratings. So there was hype for this. They said on the previous week, did the Main Event Mafia, that they would be taking over the show, and they did. I guess it did spike a little bit of viewers on Spike TV for that episode of Impact. We want to share with you some information about the Pro Wrestling Report. We've alluded to it a couple of times tonight, but there is a brand new website available at pwrshow.com. A lot more interactive features, user-based features. Quite frankly, it's probably the best site we've ever had, and we'll be sticking with this one for quite a while here. We've got new user-based function. As we said earlier, you'll get the first opportunity once you register at pwrshow.com, which is free. You'll get the opportunity to watch the show early on Wednesdays, as opposed to waiting for Friday, the PWR TV show, rather, as opposed to waiting for Friday for everybody else. The new integrated forum, which a lot of people are starting to really understand the features of. And no matter what, meatheads, still no pop-ups and still no fees at pwrshow.com.
That's the key. We're not charging you, and there's no pop-ups.
No premium, no VIP content. All you got to do is register, which is simply getting into the
I'll tell you what, these people that hate on it, honestly, you need to get off our...
But we don't let them host.
You're watching When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong.
See, thank you for that, because I don't want to start going into a whole Scott Wisniewski-style rant. I just don't want to. I can't.
And there's no reason to. Generally, the reception has been solid for the forum and for the PWR website. We'll make changes. Constructive criticism is always welcome. You can send that via the Contact Us links at pwrshow.com. Also, remember, speaking of contacting us, you can call us here on the PWR phone lines on 540 ESPN, the number 276-3776 here in southeastern Wisconsin, 276-3776, or 1-800-990-3776 all over the world. Again, 1-800-990-3776 all over the world. Now, in addition to that, we talked about the launch of the new broadcast show, PWR Q&A. You can submit those questions to us. We've got a brand new episode of PWR TV this week, and we also would like to announce that you can now catch the radio version right here, this version of the Pro Wrestling Report on MilwaukeeWrestling.com. So go and check that out. MilwaukeeWrestling.com is a website which has a great interactive forum for fans here in the Milwaukee area of professional wrestling, and you can now find episodes of the Pro Wrestling Report on that site. Coming up this month, we've got another episode of 10 Best. You can vote now on the 10 Best page at pwrshow.com, and we'll bring you another fan-selected episode of 10 Best this month.
People are asking, how do you do that voting? Damien, you want to guide them through? You want to take them on an internet field trip?
Ooh, that giga tea. That's good. Did the marketing team come up with that one for you?
I came up with
an internet field trip.
I came up with that.
Why don't you go on the field trip? Just go to the 10 Best page on TV. I am on a
you go to TV.
Different connection.
Yeah. You go from our front page. You go to TV.
Just pull it down. You just drop down to the 10 Best page, and then you'll see the poll on the 10 Best page. You select your 10 Best, and that is the next episode. We've already done 10 Best wrestling theme songs of all time, 10 Best finishing moves of all time, and there's so many different areas for you to select from on there. But enough about that. Also, new broadcast opportunities. PWR Up Close. We did a couple of Up Close interviews back in 2006, and we've actually re-uploaded those as we talk about going back to basics here on the Pro Wrestling Report with the return of the three-man team on the PWR TV show, which is going to be coming up in the next few weeks, and also, again, the launch of the website and here on ESPN Radio. Meathead has a version of that along with Frank that we'll be uploading very soon here on PWRshow.com. And finally, coming up this Sunday, Meathead, Body Slams on Ice. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, you would do that, wouldn't you? Hey, Body Slams on Ice.
I've got somebody to ban real quick.
Yeah, go right ahead. Body Slams on Ice this Sunday, Admirals game down at the Bradley Center, not the BC, the Bradley Center. Go ahead and check out Ticketmaster for tickets. But the autographs are free. Admirals will give you a nice flat sheet to
Who are
get
we going to see?
You could see Jimmy Hart, Jimmy the Mouth of the South, Jimmy the and you know what? I had this all worked out before the show. Jimmy the the Waffle House Hart. That's what I want to call him.
Jimmy, you know, Jimmy's getting upset.
Yeah, Jimmy the Mouth of the South Hart. You've also got
who's
jumping
on this?
Jumping Jim Bronzell, Tito Santana, and many, many more talents. Autographs. Folks, you got to get on down there and meet some of your favorite wrestlers.
You know, it's a great event, Body Slams on Ice. That event promoted and put together by the same person that does the Blizzard Brawl events, which are very popular, David Hero, who was on this very show last week. So that is Body Slams on Ice. You can go to MilwaukeeAdmirals.com for more information on that. Actually, transfer or link to that right through ESPNMilwaukee.com as well. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more professional wrestling news and information.
American male, American male, American male, American male, American male.
Now, we're not even going to say what that is. Let's leave it to the chatmosphere and the shout box to tell us what that is.
The theme music from Revenge of the Nerds.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and we've got a lot more here on the Pro Wrestling Report. Remember, you can join us on the phone lines. The number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Again, that's 1-800-990-ESPN. Heck, I just looked at the clock. It's almost 11:30, and I didn't even realize it. What a show. What an hour and a half we've had so far.
Yeah,
blowing up at the PWR chatmosphere and the PWR shout box.
I got 4 different things going on here. I'm taking text messages off the phone. I've got the chatosphere. I've got the shout box. I've got the radio. I've got one too many things going on. I think I need to trim it down.
You can't multitask? Is that the problem?
I can't do 4. 3 is fine.
And remember, does anybody have an answer to what that theme song was in the chatmosphere?
Oh, yeah, they did. They said it was Riggs and Bagwell, but they didn't call it by the actual name. Oh, here it is. Farley 2. American Male. There you
go. Old school. We were talking about Buff before the break, so it felt appropriate that we did that. Let's talk about WWE news, Meathead. And there have been a lot of cost-cutting measures over the last few months. Specifically now, they've closed a lot of their remote offices, such as that in Australia, China, and Canada. They've closed the offices in all those areas, primarily sales-based offices in those areas from WWE. Bret Hart might return to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony to induct Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Why?
They had a big program.
The only one that Bret Hart should be coming back for would be Owen Hart.
Remember, Bret Hart, some say, made Stone Cold Steve Austin because Stone Cold was obsessed with Bret in 1997 before the injury. Remember that match at WrestleMania 13, which many say was really when Stone Cold Steve Austin became as big as he got. Bret Hart certainly having a big role in the career of Stone Cold Steve Austin. Also to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Rumored to be inducting him is none other than the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Wow.
In case you don't remember, Flair and Steamboat, by Flair's admission, had some of the best wrestling matches that Flair had ever had, and had a lot of time that they spent together in the old WCW NWA days. World Wrestling Entertainment has renewed their relationship, Meathead, with OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling. The details are unknown, but 2 big WWE stars both made recent appearances. That's JBL. He is a wrestling god, in case you didn't remember, and Mickey James.
What?
They were serving roast beef at the Super Bowl party I was at yesterday.
Did it come with any au jus?
Mickey Rourke. You heard him at the SAG Rewards say that he was going to be at WrestleMania 25 and in a match with Chris Jericho, Y2J. You then saw Mickey Rourke on Larry King, a surprise appearance by Chris Jericho after cutting a promo on Raw about Mickey Rourke. This was on the fast track to a WrestleMania match. Now we see Mickey Rourke making a statement and his publicist releasing a statement stating that he would not be participating in WrestleMania 25. Now, Meathead, here's my take on this. Mickey Rourke said, just as recently as today, that he was advised that it would not be in his best interest from a career standpoint to participate in WrestleMania 25. There, that negative stigma attached with professional wrestling.
So let me ask you this. Donald Trump was negatively affected by participating in WrestleMania 23?
No, it's just people. You got some dumb broad who's sitting in some office somewhere in Los Angeles.
Hey. Chicks don't like to be called broads.
Sitting in some office somewhere in Los Angeles, not getting her tax rebate, and saying,
Why don't you go back to your home on Whore Island?
I'm not sure if you should be doing this. It's probably not good for your career wrestling. Somebody who's probably never seen a wrestling match, doesn't know anything about wrestling, doesn't
probably
know
still thinks they're called the WWF.
Exactly. Doesn't know the impact that a WrestleMania has on getting someone into the wrestling audience, which is a huge audience, the multi-million, billion-dollar-a-year industry, and having that mainstream exposure, which certainly won't hurt Mickey Rourke at this point. So he's being advised against it. Now, here's my take on it, Damian Nelson's take, if you will. Jericho is going to pull Rourke into WrestleMania. They've retracted his participation because WWE is still saying he's going to participate. They've retracted or retracted his participation in the event because now Jericho is going to force Rourke to wrestle at WrestleMania. Makes perfect sense from a storyline perspective. I think Rourke jumped the gun and announced a little too soon that they're participating in WrestleMania. Now they're making this an angle between the two. Unless, Mita, do you think it might go differently?
No, I think Rourke is going to be involved in WrestleMania. Maybe Rourke will have a representative that will wrestle for him. I don't know. But Mickey Rourke needs to be at WrestleMania. I mean, the wrestler blew up. It kind of all just came around. You know how Vince McMahon didn't want anything to do with the movie because he didn't make it and he didn't like it. I'm kind of sick of it already. I think Jericho should be in the Money in the Bank, actually.
He was at one point. Was he in the original?
He created, technically. According to the storyline, he created the Money in the Bank.
So, I mean, Mickey Rourke shouldn't be wrestling. What we saw in the movie, he's got some skills at least. How many times they rehearsed it, all that stuff, I don't know. I mean, should he be in a WrestleMania match? I don't even know. But it certainly does make WrestleMania that much bigger to have the tie-in makes perfect sense. Mickey Rourke and Jericho at WrestleMania. You got Flair coming in next week. WWE is still moving forward with this storyline. I think Mickey Rourke's going to be in a wrestling ring at WrestleMania 25 in Houston, Texas.
I don't think he's going to be performing, though.
SmackDown. This is huge, Meathead. For the first time since September 13th, 2001, SmackDown's going to be live on the Friday. SmackDown will be live on the Friday before WrestleMania. Now, this guy, Damian Nelson, has been saying for years upon years that the SmackDown going into WrestleMania should be live. It's a big part of WrestleMania weekend. Now the SmackDown's on Friday nights. You don't want a canned show leading into your biggest show of the year.
Because nobody's going to care.
Exactly. Here's what's smart. They're doing it at the Fan Access event. So it's going to be a huge interactive party simply promoting WrestleMania. They're going to have a ring there, do some wrestling. This is a brilliant idea by World Wrestling Entertainment.
Wow, it's about time because they haven't had a lot lately. A live SmackDown actually before their major pay-per-views wouldn't be a bad idea either. Keep any kind of intrigue going for the pay-per-view going into that weekend. So.
And SmackDown, as we know, just this past week, double taping again in Indianapolis, Indiana. Again, JR made a good point on a recent blog post saying that if SmackDown was impacted by not being live, then why does it have almost as many viewers as WWE Raw?
Because of the opportunity. SmackDown is viewable for everybody. Cable is what it is. Almost everybody has a cable-type source, to watch your Raw or to watch your, ECW or whatever. But SmackDown is on free TV, as I just said in the chat room, apparently. SmackDown is on free TV.
Indeed, but huge news. And remember, it was live on September 13, 2001, which I think was the first time it was live since it debuted in 1999, but live on September 13, 2001, due to the events of September 11th, 2001, which canceled the SmackDown taping from Houston. Funnily enough from Houston, and it was the first public assembly event since that tragedy, that being WWE SmackDown. Let's talk about TNA, Total Nonstop Action. Kevin Nash is going to be out longer than expected with that staph infection that kept him out of the pay-per-view last month for TNA. Rumored to now be looking forward to Destination X as the time by which he can participate in a pay-per-view match again. Maybe he can be commentating some more. Who? Kevin Nash? Who? One half of the Outsiders, former WWE champion. Outsiders? TNA also announcing they're going to tour Germany in September. Meathead, they recently were over in the United Kingdom. Very successful tour. As a matter of fact, they had 81,000 people in attendance at their London event, which was a new company attendance record. Sold out 2 nights in Dublin, Ireland, with 2,500 at each show, and literally had them filled to the rafters all across the United Kingdom. We actually got an email from a fan from across the pond saying that it was his first TNA live event experience, and it was simply awesome, better than any WWE event he had seen. Now, here's what Dixie Carter has said. They are attacking WWE on international soil. They're going after WWE overseas. They've got a good fan base over there. The wrestling fans are thirsty in the UK, and the results simply show it. But, Mita, do you think this is a good strategy for TNA? Obviously, costs are higher. They have announced that they're going to be doing a pay-per-view from the United Kingdom at some point in the next year. Logistically, that's very difficult because of the timing simply. But is this a good strategy by TNA?
You know, it's about business, and I think if they're going to make a profit, even if it's only a couple bucks, if you can make a profit by going overseas, I mean, that's what WWE does. Some of their shows, I mean, granted, tonight we watched Raw from St. Louis, and they had the cameras up in the rafters. So they showed the building, almost full. If they can go overseas and they can make money, then what's the problem? Why wouldn't you do it?
Right. Very valid point. And TNA, I mean, it's a good strategy. They say ratings-wise over in the UK, they're right on par with WWE. Again, no direct competition. Obviously, there is measurement in television ratings, but TNA certainly a better brand over in the United Kingdom than it is here stateside. And I'm not sure why. The UK fans have always been very loyal, especially to World Wrestling Entertainment.
European fans. And, Australian fans as well. Looking at Aussie Andrew here in the chat, Osphere, and he says Australia needs a major pay-per-view. House shows are rubbish.
And WWE, oi. Let's not forget, I believe it was the Insurrection pay-per-view that they used to do from
they used to do 2 of them.
United Kingdom, 2 per year. And the reason they did them special to the United Kingdom, they were available here in the States.
Yeah,
it was a timing issue.
Right.
I think you're looking at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, maybe earlier, if there is a pay-per-view that's expected to air at 7, 8 Eastern here in the States. And, a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Remember, pay-per-views used to be at 3 p.m. Used to be, and they used to have intermissions during the pay-per-views.
Oh, those were the worst.
SummerSlam will return in with the little countdown clock.
Yeah, and then they show a fake crowd in the background.
Indeed, yes, with a fixed camera that they recorded at the Challenge tapings the week before, probably from La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. You can call us, folks, at number 276-ESPN. Again, that's 276-3776, or all over the world at 1-800-990-3776. You can also join us at pwrshow.com and ESPN Milwaukee, where we are streaming live. So we'll be back in just a moment right here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. I don't even know what that is.
All right. It's when the Sting was still worth watching. All right.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson and the man they call Meathead, who at times is actually pretty funny. Thank you so much for joining us. We're live Monday night, February 2nd, 2209.
You never turn down the chance to go see live music, bud. Hitman28 says you need to go see Metallica. Get in the scene.
I would go to a Metallica concert. I've seen Disturbed live. I've seen Linkin Park
looking
live.
For you to start up a fight.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report. As we said, we're still looking for a couple of you to join us here on the phone lines. The number 276-ESPN, 800-990-ESPN. And Meathead, while we were away, we confirmed a big star next week right here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Is it going to come to a head?
Just that fast, we've got an announcement. We've got a big star appearing here live with us next week on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. You most recently saw him at on a TNA pay-per-view, actually. Al Snow, live with us next week right here on the Pro Wrestling Report, so make sure you tune in again. Al Snow, live with us right here on the Pro Wrestling Report next week.
I don't understand that at all. What was that drop? What was that?
That's a great question. Al Snow, as we said, folks, next week right here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, so make sure you tune in. Send us your email, questions, comments, concerns. Al will be with us, and we'll be on the Chatmosphere and in the shout box at pwrshow.com. Just before we took that time out, we were talking about TNA news and the success that they've seen over in the United Kingdom, and they will be in Germany in September now with another big tour overseas. Now, what TNA has not been so successful with, though, are their offers to fallen political figures, the first of which was Sarah Palin.
Did you ever go to that website, www.nailandpalin.com?
Let's go to the PWR phone lines. We've got Anthony from Helmer, California.
Oh, hey, Anthony.
Anthony, you are live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Anthony?
About the earlier call, someone saying that probably WrestleMania has been not getting the build-up that it probably should be.
Uh-huh.
Well, they can probably do, like, if they are going to bring Christian in, like I said, that's still a big if.
It's still an if. I mean,
yeah.
I want to see it too, but it's still an if.
They can have, like, promos saying, like, I'm returning, whatever, and all that, and the live SmackDown before Mania, he can return on that show, then have an impact at the Mania. Hello?
No, that's where Damian looked at me. I'm like, what do you want, dude? I'm watching the chat.
I was administrating some stuff, and I was expecting Meathead. That's what happens when you depend on Meathead. Anthony, who do you want to see make an impact at WrestleMania?
In one particular kind of fashion, you mean? Like,
well, I'm sorry. What was your comment a moment ago?
They can have, like, Christian having, like, promos. If he's returning, he says, I'm returning, blah, blah, blah.
I think what Anthony's been talking about is the build-up to WrestleMania. If that's going to happen, Ant, and that's what I call my nephew, whose name is Anthony. I call him Ant.
I'm lucky.
That actually was funny. You may be allowed to stay
Anthony,
longer.
are you entitled to a tax refund this year in California?
Nope.
Oh. You know what we need? You said the build-up to WrestleMania, what they should do. Maybe they should record another video, like the one they did in 1993, the WrestleMania video. Oh, WrestleMania. Remember that? Hacksaw Jim Duggan singing? Here it comes, coming at you. It's 93. It's time for WrestleMania. Mean Gene Okerlund
I think what Anthony's talking about is the build-up to WrestleMania. If they're going to do the thing with Christian, where I'm coming back, I'm returning, they got to get it going now.
Yeah, and that's something we haven't talked about. I guess since the, Matt Hardy left the door open for a third party to potentially be involved in his turn against Jeff Hardy. It could be Christian, don't know. But really, Anthony, your point is valid. We talked about it on this show extensively already. WrestleMania, there's not so much mania surrounding it yet. And WWE's got a long haul if they expect us to, in a month and a half between No Way Out and WrestleMania, really buy into some of the things they're doing. But WrestleMania is that event that no matter what, every year, people are going to order it. So it's locked and solid. I don't even know if the event's sold out yet, to be honest with you. But WWE should be, I think, a little more prepared for what its WrestleMania plans will be, especially given the current economic situation. They're asking somebody for $55 for this event. They got to really make us care about it.
Standard definition.
Yeah, and now since it looks like they might be setting up the end for the Shawn Michaels JBL feud and No Way Out, they can have that probably match between Shawn and Undertaker that was originally thought about.
Yeah,
that's possible. That would actually give Undertaker somebody to wrestle, because as we talked about earlier, Undertaker really doesn't have anybody.
Yeah, I'd rather see him versus Shawn than him and Umaga at Mania.
Yeah.
Umanga.
Yeah, save the Umanga for like
Money in the Bank.
Review.
Umanga for Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Well, we got another matchup to think about, though. Jack Swagger, the ECW champion, if he can keep his hands on the belt, physically, I mean. He's going to have a match. I hope they actually put an ECW title match at WrestleMania, because we haven't. Well, we did have one last year. Kane defeating Chavo in about 12 seconds.
Or about a minute.
Maybe they can think about having a triple threat. Jack Swagger, Finley, and Tommy Dreamer.
If they were smart, yeah, exactly. And Dreamer said, that his contract's coming up and he won't renew if he can't win. the championship, but they could put on a clinic at WrestleMania with some of their ECW talent. Evan Bourne should be back by then. They just moved Jamie Noble over to ECW permanently.
Did anybody notice?
However long that's going to be. It actually happens this week, so that was a little bit of a spoiler.
Oh, Damian Nelson.
I know. I was gone a week. I'm missing these spoiler alerts. But anyways, they could put on a clinic in an ECW match at WrestleMania. Give it 15 minutes. Give it 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it takes, and really get people more familiar and more in tune with the ECW brand, because that's an opportunity, and not just crap on it as they've done in some recent pay-per-view events. But, Anthony, we do have to cut you short.
Actually, I got kind of idea what they probably can do with the Tommy Dreamer idea. They can have him not win the belt before his contract expires. He comes out the following pay-per-view saying, "I'm sorry, I wish just to say thank you for all that." The ECW champion comes out saying, like, "You're no good, you're worthless, you're basically you're done." Then the GM comes out and says, "You're wrong, Dreamer, you're getting a title shot right now," and Dreamer wins the belt.
That'd be nice. Good way for Dreamer to leave, too. I mean, because Dreamer said he doesn't want to renew. So
yeah, just retire with the belt.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony, for calling in here to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. You can join us as well, folks. The number is 276-ESPN. That's 276-3776 or 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-3776. More TNA news. We saw that offer, as we were talking about before we took that call, to Sarah Palin. Remember, they offered $50,000 to a charity for Sarah Palin to come in and be a part of the Beautiful People. They ended up finding former Daphne from WCW to do that, and obviously that actually turned out to be an interesting angle, as they made a joke and a parody of it.
I'm disgusted in myself to realize that I didn't know that was Daphne. I used to like Daphne. Daphne even was one of the girls that Kong wrestled in the challenge, grab a fan from the back, and Tanay goes, "That's Daphne from WCW. What you been up to?" "Well, I've been, working on my wrestling and being a stay-at-home mom and blah, blah, blah."
They have now made an offer to the former Illinois governor, Rod Blagojevich. Yeah, he was recently impeached, and they've made an offer for him to come in and be the chairman of the Main Event Mafia. I mean, they sent out a press release for this. Yep. Familiar with old Rod from down in Illinois?
Yeah. I don't pay attention to Illinois.
So that
was just a joke. That was a Wisconsin, Illinois
They're
joke.
trying to make some noise about it, which makes some sense. They got a little bit of media coverage with the Sarah Palin offer, but at the time they did it, it was right after the election, and she was still in other media channels. But this Rod thing, I mean, is he going to bite? Of course not. But he's an ego. He's got a pretty big ego, so who knows what he might or might not do. But interesting.
How do you know how big his ego is?
I've followed. I've followed the impeachment proceedings. This is the guy who goes on The View and Larry King and the Today Show on the day where he's supposed to be at the impeachment hearings, because he's just that good, and then shows up on the last day. Shows up at the last day of the hearings, and he is big time, big ego. Shows up on the last day of the hearings and actually makes a pretty convincing argument for himself. But that did not work out as he was impeached. But be that as it may, the suicide character we saw return this past week on Impact was played by a new person, as Kaz is injured. And that was Christopher Daniels.
And recently married, too.
To
Miss Brookshire, I believe. Miss Brooks?
Tracy Brooks. So Christopher Daniels is going to be playing Suicide for a little while Kaz is injured. Actually, that worked out nicely for TNA. Now, knowing it was Daniels, you could tell it was Daniels. Just like if you knew Curryman was Daniels, you could tell it was Daniels, because Daniels has a pretty distinct style in the ring as far as his stance and how he carries himself, and it's very easy to tell that it is him. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, as long as Hector Guerrero is not the gobbledygooker again, it doesn't matter. Kurt Angle has got a starring role in a movie, Meathead.
Really? What's the name of the movie?
The movie is going to be called Rescue from Hell. It's all the details we have right now. It's going to be released it's going to be filmed starting in the spring. Kurt Angle with a starring role. Will it do better or worse than Behind Enemy Lines, Columbia?
I heard that's not doing so well.
Let's go to the VI3. Each week we pick the very important 3 people from the world of professional wrestling. 1 singles competitor, 1 female competitor, 1 tag team champions of the world. did Meathead go?
Well, there was people that were listening on their earphones up until you opened your big
That's why,
mouth.
much like a good singer, I pulled back.
You didn't,
to the left.
because you were
Back.
you were making my
To the
ear
left.
bleed. BI3
Back.
single. Ready?
To the left.
BI3 single.
I'm ready, but you're clearly not.
Randy Orton is my single.
You hear the voices, huh?
I've been hearing voices for a long time. I mean, apparently I'm also, a split personality. I've got 3 other personalities in the Chattosphere, too.
Maybe it's because you can't call it by the right name.
You
need to get the M in.
Yeah, Chattosphere. Randy Orton is my single. Tag team is going to go out to Prime Time. Again, I still like them.
Yo, 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 yo.
Yo, yo, yo. Papa 40. And my female of the week. You know what? It's not Mickie James this week. It's going to be Beth Phoenix for what she did to Candace. She looked good. That's my VI3.
Randy Orton, Beth Phoenix, and yo, 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 yo. It's crime time for the man they call Meathead now, the definitive VI3, the one all of you clamored to the show to listen to tonight. Number 1, it's a dual number 1 Meathead. I also go with Randy Orton, as he has just been really the focal point of professional wrestling for the last couple of weeks. My female spot goes to the new women's champion in WWE, Melina. And number 3 goes to, I think, one of the greatest tag teams out there today.
Sorry about your damn luck.
Because it's Miz and Morrison.
Oh, arr.
That's the VI3.
I was trying to help
Remember,
you.
you can also submit your VI3s to us each and every week via PWR show.
Yeah, use the cough button there. Go ahead and use the cough button, instead of going
via
that.
PWRshow.com.
It's your first day, I know.
Excuse me for that. But let's talk about Ring of Honor. There is some Ring of Honor in here. And Ring of Honor, as you know, signed that big television deal with the HD network, and that is going to be focused on wrestling. Don't expect any flash, no pyro, no big lights, no big sets. They will focus on the core that is wrestling. Think ECW on TNN, focusing on the wrestling product. We don't know how long the show is going to be, but we do know that they will do monthly tapings, the first of which will be at the end of this month, February 28th, at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, now known as The Arena.
Wait. Wasn't that turned into a fitness club?
There were a lot of rumors that it would be, but it is going to be The Arena. There's no word yet on the actual air dates of that show. Now, Meathead, we talked about ECW and the potential similarity between these two situations. Ring of Honor has long wanted this television deal. They're on the HD network. If you go to the HD Net site right now, they're using this as an opportunity to get some of the fans of Ring of Honor to talk to their local cable companies to make it available. I'm not sure if it's available
here in
Milwaukee.
It is available here in the Milwaukee area. HD Net is not part of the free package that you get with Time Warner Cable, but it is. Don't ask for numbers. Call your cable company.
And HDNet using this as a vehicle by which to promote themselves and get themselves on some additional network outlets or some additional cable outlets. But, when ECW came on TNN, it was, this little rogue organization that was very popular on the Internet. Not many people knew about it, but they were coming in and scoring nearly 1 million viewers a week, much bigger than their audience that was out there. Ring of Honor saying they're going to focus on professional wrestling. You heard Austin Aries talk about it right here in this very program last week. They're going to focus on professional wrestling, and that will be the content of the show. Don't know if it's an hour or 2 hours, but it will be filmed with HDNet cameras, so it will be in high definition.
True.
It's going to look apparently much better than the current Ring of Honor programming that is available out there. But I don't think many Ring of Honor fans care about how good the picture looks because the wrestling, in their opinion, is that damn good.
If that's what you go to watch, if you're going to watch just the wrestling, like our caller from Waukesha, if that's what you want, is the wrestling, then Ring of Honor is for you. But not everybody's like that, and that's really why WWE can fill a 70,000 seat arena for a show, and Ring of Honor will struggle to fill a 5,000 seat arena.
What do they need to do, though, is the question. What do they need to do to make this work? At least initially. What maybe does their first show need to look like?
It needs to look like wrestling, something that you can't see on TV right now. It needs to be different.
In anticipation of this move, they are indeed looking to actually make some roster cuts. However, they want to lock some of their talents into longer-term deals and influx more talent into the organization to get some new people to look at.
They just got the guy that's down with the Browns.
You better recognize who the hell he is.
Yeah.
I want to see more Jack Evans.
As long as
I think he's injured right now, but
he might
Jack
get his
Evans.
neck broke.
If you remember Jack Evans, I think you had most people had the opportunity to get to know his talent,
WSX.
along with Evan Bourne in WSX, back when he was Matt Sydal, his real name. Well, fans, this is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We told you earlier that we do have a brand new episode of PWR TV that's going to be available at pwrshow.com Wednesday, and then on Time Warner Cable here in southeastern Wisconsin Friday night right after WWE SmackDown. Also, coming up this Sunday is Body Slams on Ice at the Admirals game at the Bradley Center. Go to ESPNMilwaukee.com, click through the Admirals link for more information on that big show featuring free autographs from many wrestling superstars, including Tito Santana and more. Jumpin' Jim Brunzel, very popular with the AWA here at the events at the Mecca Arena back in the day. Come on down. See a great hockey game, by the way, the Milwaukee Admirals, and meet some of your wrestling favorites. Al Snow, next week right here on this very program, 540 ESPN, the Pro Wrestling Report. Al Snow right here. Actually will be a very interesting time with Al, as he has a lot to talk about and what he has been through in the world of professional wrestling. MilwaukeeWrestling.com is also a place you want to go to find out all the latest about Milwaukee professional wrestling. And we will be back with you again here next week, right here on 540 ESPN for the cause. And the man they call Meathead, this is Damian Nelson saying so long, everyone, until next week.